Traditional city, wide aerial shot, rooftops everywhere, market packed below. Two people in the crowd clock something and shoot a sideways look. It's a guy with long, dark hair, back to us. Crowd murmuring, stepping out of his way. He gets to the middle of the road and sits down cross-legged right there. Crowd forms a ring. Nobody says a word. His head drops all the way forward, hair falling over his face. A woman nearby pulls a child close and watches. Nobody moves. A pained sound escapes him, and then he's on the ground. Flat out, leaves blowing past, done. This man has a past. Battlefield soaked red, weapons everywhere, and he's the one who made it look like that. A blade comes down, and he takes it clean. The impact cracking the air. He's the only one standing when it's over. Every single enemy that came at him ended up on the ground. The screaming stops because there's nobody left to make noise. His response to wiping out an entire army mocked the world for sending them. Dan Woohyun, the ultimate divine demon. Someone nearby clicks their tongue. This man cleared the whole field and called it boring. He stands alone among fallen bodies and bloodied weapons, every one of them his work. Turns and walks away, unhurried. Foot crushes something on the way out without him slowing. A witness nearby can't even react. Completely frozen. One of the 8 immortals watches and clicks his tongue. Our guy throws a stare back, not intimidated in the slightest. The 8 immortals, the faction that ran the entire Central Plains, shaken by one person. One of them wants to move on him right now. Another says, wait, going head on isn't the play. The thought of him walking free has all of them rattled. So they pour everything into a ceiling formation and drive it straight at him. The strongest person alive, taken out by group effort, Dan Woohyun gets pulled to the bottom of the donating lake, energy chains locking around him, buried in the dark by the 8 immortals. He sinks and disappears. 1,000 years go by. When the seal breaks, he walks out and there's nothing left. Everyone he knew is dead, everything he had is gone, and he's just drifting through back alleys with no direction. Wandering streets he doesn't recognize, an old score that has no one left to settle it. The world moved on and forgot his name entirely. This dude has nowhere to be. He passes through the crowd, and every face is a stranger. No home, no place to go back to, just forward. No direction, no plan, just walking because there's nothing else to do. Flat expression, eyes on nothing. Things from his past keep surfacing, stuff he can't get rid of. He wonders quietly whether 1,000 years actually changes a person. This is the answer. Our guy, completely empty, going nowhere. Something ahead makes him stop. A girl, collapsed under a bare tree, brown hair spread around her, totally out cold. He looks at her from a distance. First thought, is she a beggar? He crouches and checks. Pulse is barely there. Still breathing, but close to not. Been out here a while. She stirs slightly as he gets near. He reaches a hand toward her. Close now. He reads her condition, figures out what he's dealing with. Internal energy flows from his hands, glow spreading across her skin. He tells her she's lucky. The energy goes deep, light moving through her, stabilizing what was about to stop. Color comes back to her face. Then her stomach blows up the moment, loudly. Vital energy keeps her alive but does nothing for actual hunger, and there's no food around. He knows from long experience that internal energy alone isn't the fix she needs. He puts something in her hands while she's still out and stands back up. Leaving means certain death. This at least gives her a shot. His footsteps move off through the trees, dawn breaking, her still on the ground behind him, her eyes open. She gasps, looks around, alone, crescent moon above the trees. He left something in her hands and one thought with her. The rest is on luck. Morning, our boy under a tree, the girl stirring awake next to him. The girl looks up at him, still half out of it, blinking slow, the two of them sitting across from each other, nobody saying anything. Then her stomach announces itself, loudly. The girl's face goes completely red the second it happens. Our boy reaches into his clothes and pulls out a dumpling. The girl locks eyes on it immediately and doesn't look away, lays out what it is, and makes it clear he's not rushing to share, not giving it to her when she's looking at him like that. The girl's eyes go wide and she springs toward it. Our boy watches her, wondering if this is her way of paying him back. Laughing now, completely at ease, not a trace of nerves about her, claims she's not eating it. Sounds like she means it until she doesn't. The next day, the girl is still there, and the day after that. Half a month goes by just like this. Our boy ate the food she brought sitting there with her every time. Her name, that smile, completely foreign to him, but not in a way he minded. Back in the city, market packed, noise everywhere. The market right there, stalls out, people moving. A vendor's voice cuts through, calling out a brat who's been at it again. Turns out the girl has been stealing from this stall. More than once. Vendor grabs her and drags her out in front of everyone, demands she explain herself right then and there. She owes him for everything she's taken, and someone's paying for it today. Crowd forms around them, Vendor getting louder about her age and her nerve, decides she needs a lesson and raises a hand. Our boy steps in. One motion, barely a second. Vendor yells out. Something went wrong with his hand. A sound he was definitely not ready to make. His fingers won't move. Can't figure out what just happened to them. The whole arm out of commission from one contact, screaming now. This dude standing between the vendor and the girl, completely quiet. Internally, annoyed. The girl had been bringing food to him this whole time. Our boy just ate it every time, never once asking where it came from. She was stealing it, taking a beating for every single piece. Our boy doesn't like knowing that, still trying to figure out why. Water up ahead, wide and completely still. Boot hitting the ground, still moving. Ended up here without meaning to, walked aimlessly, and came this far out. Our boy stops dead and looks at the water in front of him. A lake, completely still. Mountains surrounding it on all sides. The place where the 8 immortals buried him for 1,000 years. Donating lake. Our boy, at the edge of it, was called the Martial God. Sealed at the bottom of somewhere this quiet. Our MC moves along the bank. No particular hurry to be anywhere. Rustling in the brush behind him. Something back there. Something coming through at full speed. The girl crashes out of the trees, completely winded, barely standing. Our boy had specifically told her to stay back. Asks why she came, why she keeps showing up wherever he goes. The girl tries to answer, stops herself, starts again. Asks him not to leave. That's what she gets out. Our boy stands there. He knows that feeling. Been the same way his whole existence. This dude turns toward her, asks something simple. What's her name? Turns out it's Somi. Practically yells it, whole face lighting up. Our boy looks at this kid, wonders if she could give him somewhere to actually be. Tells the girl to come with him, just says it. The two of them by the water, leaves coming down. That's where it starts. The chapter opens at their campfire deep in the woods. Somi's already asleep against him, while our guy sits wide awake staring into the flames, running one thought over and over. They still need a real house. And when he was young, he used to dream about having one someday. Morning comes with birds cutting through the trees, and Somi blinks herself awake off the ground. She opens her eyes and immediately asks about the full compound sitting right behind them. Walls, courtyard, all of it, and our guy tells her it was always there. She pushes and he confirms it without hesitation. She tilts her head because she is certain this wasn't here yesterday, and he explains it was there the whole time, just run down, so he patched it up. She starts to say it definitely wasn't, and he goes quiet and holds that silence with such confidence she starts wondering if her own memory is off. She talks herself into it. Why would he lie? And the place looks incredible anyway. She gets a full look at the courtyard and calls it a garden, completely sold on all of it. And this dude nearly blurts out that he built the whole thing himself, and Somi catches the slip instantly, asks flat out if he built it. He walks it back fast and just stands there relieved she's young enough to fall for this, then registers there are still no fences. His expression goes cold. She's already spinning around the courtyard charmed, asking why the place was ever abandoned. Next morning, a full fence stands around the perimeter. Somi reacts loudly and our guy says it was always there. He insists on it, and she says she didn't even bring it up. She walks over and cranes her neck at how tall the thing is, and her face just goes completely blank. She drops down to sit on the ground, and he exhales. He asks what's wrong, and she just says his name. She tells him the yard feels bare without any flowers or trees. His eye twitches. Next morning, plants line the whole courtyard. Somi gapes at the new growth. He tells her they were already there. She gives up and says, okay. Then she finds a small stone pond that was not there the day before, and he just smirks and says nothing. He thinks through what's still left. Bed, furniture, all of it needs building. Somi sits by the pond while he works through the next problem. She can't go hungry, which means he's going fishing. The man stands quietly processing, and Somi peeks up at him, trying to say something. He flicks her forehead to stop her, and she goes quiet, and he almost smiles. She follows after him and finds him crouched in the courtyard, hammering away at something. She asks what he's making, and he pats the edge of a big wooden tub and tells her it's for bathing. Then he walks off like that settles everything. Somi makes a run for it the second she understands what's coming, and he tells her he bought her new clothes while she slept, but there's a condition. She is visibly filthy, and the condition is she washes first. No more bathing in rivers. She argues this applies to him and not to her. He grabs her anyway, and she fights back hard, swearing she's already clean and wants nothing to do with any of this, and the look on his face says the conversation ended. He's shirtless over the tub, scrubbing away, while suds overflow everywhere, and the state of that water explains exactly how she got this dirty. She's still crying from inside the foam that she genuinely doesn't know how it happened. The result? Clean face, new glow, red flowers filling the frame around her. He turns away and tells her she finally looks like a normal person, asks if the new clothes fit. She twirls in a white top and red floral skirt, says she's never worn anything like this in her whole life. He admits he worried they wouldn't fit, and she just laughs, says they're the most beautiful things she's ever put on. She adds that even if they hadn't fit, it would have been fine. Anything beats the worn-out hand-me-downs from the orphanage. Our guy just watches her and tells her she's way too good with her words for her age. She says she wants them to keep living like this, quietly, the two of them. He reaches over and pats her head once, and she doubles down on it, says they can actually make it happen. He laughs softly and says, "Yeah, that'd be great." Cut to somewhere else in the city. Two figures in dark robes are watching through a window, and the atmosphere in that room is something else entirely. Rumors are flying through town. A manor appeared from nowhere in the middle of bandit territory. People in the streets can't stop whispering about it, and one noble in particular is paying close attention. Namgung Hongchang asks if the rumors are true. A grand manor, just sitting there. The magistrate decides to go see the place personally, tells the escort to prepare. That night, Hong Chang arrives with a full torch-lit entourage. One of the escorts says the area feels wrong, too quiet for a place this deep in the mountains. Another explains why. A bandit group recently claimed this whole stretch as theirs, and the surrounding villagers are terrified. The escort adds that the government couldn't even control the bandits. The name finally drops, Yang Daban, the leader and self-proclaimed king of every bandit in the region. Over 800 men under Daban's command, and the entire territory runs on fear. The details keep coming. The bandits settled near the mountains, doubled the damage after a fight with a nearby town, and operate like a private army. Daban's inner power is the real problem, strong enough that government forces pulled back. Hong Chang takes all of it in and hopes the situation stays calm. A sound cuts through the trees. The compound comes into view ahead, dark and quiet. A figure is already standing at the entrance. One of the escorts starts sweating, asks if someone is actually living out here. The manor is real. An impact strikes the gate, a clear warning aimed at the group. Dan Woohyun's energy pulses outward from inside. The force hits the escorts and freezes every one of them. The figure in the hat locks up mid-step. Our guy walks out into the torchlight, calm, arms folded. Dan Woohyun says not remembering inviting guests today. Hong Chang straightens up and asks if this dude is the owner of the manor. Introduces the name Namgung Hong Chang, the local magistrate. Bro asks what brings the magistrate all the way out here at night. Gives the name back, Dan Woohyun. Hong Chang immediately asks if our MC built this place. Our guy confirms it. Hong Chang can't accept that, demands to know how anyone builds a full manor in a few days. The magistrate pushes harder, says the claim makes no sense, asks if Dan Woohyun has any authorization for the construction, demands to know if our hero is trying to ignore the magistrate's authority. Hong Chang presses further, asks if Dan Woohyun is refusing to follow the law. An energy burst detonates between them. Hong Chang had slipped a coin pouch forward to smooth things over, and Bro blew it apart mid-air with a single pulse. The magistrate's composure cracks. Hong Chang screams the order to capture Dan Woohyun immediately. The guards charge in. Our MC doesn't move. Hong Chang shouts that this dude dared to come and cause trouble. Says mocking the Namgung name carries a price. Walking out alive might not be an option tonight. The magistrate adds that insulting an official means judgment. One of the guards asks if the men out front are all right. Another says to take care of whoever comes first. Dan Woohyun's expression doesn't change. The first guard rushes in, asks if our guy intends to resist. The answer comes as a single strike. The guard drops before finishing the sentence. Every guard in the courtyard hits the ground at once. Hong Chang screams, asking what just happened and who on earth this person is. More men pour in. The second wave goes down just as fast. A third wave follows, and the result is the same. Hong Chang crouches in the middle of a courtyard full of fallen guards, asking what all this is. The magistrate's face is white. Hong Chang screams for someone to help, voice completely gone. Dan Woohyun tells Hong Chang one last thing before letting the magistrate leave. A massive silhouette steps out of the dark behind the group. Yang Daban, arms crossed, towering over everyone. The bandit leader speaks. 2 words aimed at the people in front. Daban's eyes lock on, and the name comes out. Jang Baeksan. Daban stands in the courtyard with a full squad behind, torches everywhere. The bandit leader spots Hong Chang on the ground, and a name escapes Daban's mouth. Jang Baeksan. One of Dabin's men leans in, says the timing couldn't be better. It's Hong Wonchang. Hong Chang freezes where the magistrate sits. Daban is already running the numbers. Made a mistake coming here. Half a year ago, Daban's group captured and killed Zhang Baeksan's family. The bandit leader didn't expect retaliation to show up tonight. Dan Woohyun glances over, annoyed. All this noise while Somi is sleeping. Daban knows one thing for sure. The person standing in this courtyard won't be an easy fight. The sword Daban carries won't be enough. Going up against dozens of Murim masters under Zhang Baeksan's command would be impossible. But Daban's bandits are here, and numbers are all the bandit leader has. Daban's men start screaming, says to kill Hong Chang tonight, make an example out of the magistrate. Another one wants to cut off the head and feed it to the dogs. Hong Chang drops to both knees and begs to be spared. Daban crouches down right in the magistrate's face, says this is the moment the bandit leader has waited for. The laugh tears out of Daban, calls this the happiest day in recent memory. Says wanting to see more of that terrified expression, but can't drag it out. Our guy steps forward. Daban tells Hong Chang today is the day the magistrate heads to the next world. Hong Chang screams. Daban waves the crew in, drag the magistrate out, and show the man what hell looks like. Hong Chang keeps begging, says doing anything at all to be spared. One of Daban's men glances back and asks what to do about the other one. Daban turns and looks Dan Woohyun over, takes a long look, says the word, interesting. Dan Woohyun strikes one of the bandits away from Hong Chang, tells the magistrate to consider it lucky. Another second, and the man would be dead. Hong Chang's escort can't believe what just happened. The magistrate is still begging on the ground. Our hero stands between Daban's crew and Hong Chang. Daban asks if this dude is actually talking to the bandit leader right now. Bro asks Daban straight what the bandit leader intends to do with Hong Chang. Dan Woohyun says doubting the bandits would care much about a magistrate, adds that looking at it from Daban's side, taking people is all the bandits know. The word comes back and calls Dan Woohyun crazy. Our MC says one word, stop. Daban's man goes quiet. This dude asks Daban directly what the bandit leader wants to do about this. Daban's crew counts around 40 fighters surrounding the courtyard. Dan Woohyun's energy surges outward. The whole courtyard gets heavy. Our guy turns to Hong Chang and asks if the magistrate wants to live. Lays out the condition, guarantee ownership of the manor, and Dan Woohyun saves the magistrate tonight. Daban erupts, calls our hero a crazy bastard, and asks if the man wants to die. Bro glances at the manor and says the deal sounds fair. Hong Chang's people already see it as settled. Hong Chang gives the word, save the magistrate, and the manor belongs to Dan Woohyun. Daban screams to shut up, says that land belongs to the bandits. One of Daban's fighters grins and says that's not how things work around here. Dan Woohyun's expression doesn't shift. The first fighter launches forward. Our MC meets the attack head on. The attacker screams. The strike blasts through and the fighter hits the ground before anyone tracks the movement. The courtyard goes dead quiet. Someone screams the name Jongwoo. Another bandit stares at the body. The crew can't process it. One of them says Jongwoo was one of the 3 strongest fighters under Daban. Daban admits not being able to see the movement, wonders how a fighter this strong ended up here. The bandit leader accepts it. This man might be stronger than Daban. Dan Woohyun's full energy floods the courtyard. Dense, controlled, overwhelming. Daban's men tell each other the numbers are still on the bandit's side. Daban says surviving against the 4 martial masters before means surviving this too. The crew spreads and circles, weapons up. One of them calls it, take Dan Woohyun down in one rush. Daban's face goes full rage. The order tears out, kill. Daban's crew surges at once, 40 fighters closing in from every side, Daban screaming the order from the back, kill. The bandits crash into Dan Woohyun's range all at once. This dude walks straight into it. In that split second, our guy runs through one question, kill them or don't. Dropping every last one would be easy, the kind of people Dan Woohyun could take down in a single strike. But the thought of doing it bothered Bro in a way that wouldn't go away. Somi's face is the reason. Our MC decides not to kill. What follows takes less than a minute. Dan Woohyun throws a stone at the incoming sword. The blade shatters into fragments, and the pieces scatter outward. Hong Chang and the escort stare at the aftermath without moving. Daban catches a piece of it and goes down. Our hero stands in the middle of a courtyard full of people who are no longer standing. Zhang Baeksan was watching the whole thing. The thief couldn't believe what just happened. The stone hit the sword midair, the blade fractured, and the fragments annihilated every single one of Daban's fighters. Daban can't make sense of it. A normal person can't do this. The bandit leader keeps asking if any of this is real. Dabin's legs won't stop shaking. Jang Baeksan fully realizes there's a person alive who fights at this level, and the thief screams a curse and bolts. Jang Baeksan runs for the first time ever, leaves behind the fallen crew, and moves faster than the thief has ever moved before. Dan Woohyun and Hong Chang's man stand in the aftermath while Jang Baeksan disappears into the dark. Hong Chang can barely speak. The magistrate's man screams to catch Dabin, begs Dan Woohyun to go after the bandit leader. Our guy calls Dabin despicable. Bro doesn't like chasing runners, but this dude needs Dabin to confirm the manor deal, so there's no choice. Dan Woohyun takes off after the bandit leader. Our hero closes the gap before Dabin can get far. The hit lands, and the bandit leader goes down hard. Dabin can't figure out when Dan Woohyun caught up. One more strike puts the bandit leader flat on the ground. Our MC turns and addresses the magistrate. Dan Woohyun tells Hong Chang the deal is done. The magistrate screams yes, understood, no questions. Dabin swears on the dirt never to start trouble near the manor again, promises to keep distance. Somi pops up and tells our hero that people are going to be shocked if this dude keeps doing things this way. Dan Woohyun looks at the girl. Bro says everything is fine as long as Somi is safe. Further back, a figure in the dark watches all of it, calls Dan Woohyun a monster, and wonders why a person this dangerous is living in a place like this. The figure decides right there to never go against Dan Woohyun. Not now, not ever. Next day, the market, daytime, noise everywhere. Somi is already in it. The girl moves through the crowd, pulling our MC along. Somi spots food and locks on immediately. The girl is pointing at everything. Can't stop looking. Somi eating through the market already. Dan Woohyun takes stock. Bandits are gone. The manor situation is closed. Nobody left to deal with. Our guy says there's nothing else to worry about. Somi spots a row of persimmons on a stick. The girl loses it. Somi asks bro if the food doesn't look incredible. And then this dude remembers the one thing that slipped the mind. Raising a kid takes money, a serious amount of it. Dan Woohyun and Somi walk through the market together, a brand new problem already forming. Dan Woohyun remembers the one thing that slipped. Raising a kid takes money, and a lot of it. Our guy stands at the manor running through options. When bro lived alone, surviving was easy. Catch and eat. Never needed money, never had a reason to carry any. But taking care of Somi changed everything. This dude refuses to let the girl grow up without the basics, decides right there to figure it out. Somi says to head back. Dan Woohyun walks through town with one goal: find a way to earn money fast. The hills spread out ahead. Somi spots a flower at the trail base and screams for our hero to look. The girl runs straight at it, says the flower is beautiful. Our MC crouches down and checks, asks why a flower like this is growing out here by itself. Dan Woohyun recognizes the type from years back. Bro asks if Somi can pull it out. The girl grabs the stem and yanks, won't budge. Somi insists on being strong enough. This dude notices marks on the ground that shouldn't be there, footprints that don't belong, herbs cut and transplanted, ingredients already extracted. The whole patch was cultivated on purpose. Dan Woohyun tenses up. Our guy works through it. Finding a thing doesn't mean it's theirs, and stepping on someone else's land could mean trouble. Tells Somi to let go, says nothing happened. A figure in red drops from above, screaming about touching other people's property, blade already swinging. Somi freezes. The girl flinches back hard. Dan Woohyun catches the blade barehanded before it connects. The weapon drops. Jang Baeksan demands to know who bro is. The thief can't figure out why the block felt like hitting a mountain. Jang Baeksan struggles to break free. Dan Woohyun's grip won't give. The thief screams, asking why our hero is this strong. This dude grabs Jang Baeksan and launches the thief straight into the ground. Somi watches wide-eyed. The impact tears up dirt, and Somi can't believe what just happened. Somi runs over, worried. Dan Woohyun stands over the thief calmly. Our MC reads the situation. Jang Baeksan charged at a kid in broad daylight. Bro expected the garden owner to show up eventually, didn't expect a full attack. But the intent wasn't to kill. Jang Baeksan was trying to scare them off. Our guy decides the attacker isn't vicious. The real question, what kind of person risks a fight over planted herbs? Dan Woohyun checks Jang Baeksan over. This dude grabs the thief, examines closer, and catches it. Picks Jang Baeksan up off the ground. Our hero carries the thief back to the manor, says Jang Baeksan will be pretty useful. Jang Baeksan wakes up screaming in a room at the manor, demands to know if Dan Woohyun is a kidnapper. Bro gives the name, Dan Woohyun, then drops it flat, almost killed the thief on the spot when Jang Baeksan charged at Somi. A snake made of energy coils around Jang Baeksan while our MC asks why the decision changed. Dan Woohyun asks how much Jang Baeksan thinks the thief's own life is worth. The answer comes back. Maybe 500,000 nyang. This dude says every person determines their own value, then drops the number. Hey, 5 million nyang? Jang Baeksun's face goes blank. Our guy leans in close, says that's the amount Jang Baeksun has to pay to stay alive. Hong Chang walks through town like royalty, people offering food, praising the magistrate at every step. A crowd gathers, the praise keeps pouring in, Jang Baeksun screams from behind a mountain of chores. The cleaning is endless, way too much work, and the whole town staring. Hong Chang explains, after Daban, the commoners call the magistrate a hero, and the government's trust shot through the roof. A sign bearing Hong Chang's name goes up. Officials confirm the magistrate is a very capable man. The government asks Hong Chang to take on more duties. Hong Chang agrees, accepts a new position. The officials ask if the magistrate can handle it. Hong Chang says, of course. Jang Baeksun erupts, screams about who that stupid thief is that started all of this. The weight lands. The thief stands alone, asking why the heavens sent this trial. Flashback. The night before, a golden Buddha statue was stolen from the imperial residence, and Jang Baeksun had the pouch. Dan Woohyun told the thief the value goes beyond anything Jang Baeksun imagined. The thief didn't have money, begged to work it off, dropped to both knees asking to be spared, screamed about doing anything, cleaning, laundry, whatever our guy wanted, but the look in Dan Woohyun's eyes wouldn't leave. Upsetting this dude means dying on the spot. Jang Baeksun swore not to die there. A person born of greatness, now doing household chores. Somi watched from the side while Bro told the thief the belongings stay until the debt is paid. Our hero added one condition: the debt doubles if Jang Baeksun tries to escape. The thief counted on the government officials arriving after the order goes through. Back to present, Jang Baeksun is a full servant at the manor, 1 week deep. The thief curses Dan Woohyun, orders Jang Baeksun around without rest, all day. Blames Somi too, says without that kid, the thief wouldn't be stuck here. Needs the golden Buddha back before the black market dealer arrives at the set location, the stolen golden Buddha statue from the imperial residence. A massive spread of food hits the table. Somi's eyes go wide. Jang Baeksun stands behind the feast, looking pleased. Dan Woohyun says the thief is pretty good, tells Jang Baeksun cooking suits the thief better than stealing. Jang Baeksun asks if our MC likes the food. Somi asks what a thief means. Dan Woohyun tells the girl not to worry. Bro smirks, says the work would be worthy of a salary. Drops the number, 3 silver nyangs per month. Jang Baeksun laughs and thanks our guy, but the second bro turns away. The thief curses under every breath. Jang Baeksun's eye twitches with rage. Dan Woohyun and Somi sit at the table while the thief watches from the hallway. This dude tells a story, the tale of Sun Wukong stuck in the palm of Buddha. Somi says Sun Wukong is such a poor thing. Jang Baeksun wrings cloth, laundry, scrubs the floor on hands and knees, sits outside alone, scheming, cooks another meal, furious, washes a tower of dishes, found where the dealer operates, just needs the right moment. The thief admits it, no clean way to pull this off. Jang Baeksun slams the floor. 3 weeks have passed, screams about working this hard at someone else's place, decides to make the call by month's end, even if caught hiding at the manor is an option, rationalizes it. A thief lives a dog's life, if being here helps, that's a fair deal. Mutters about not being anyone's servant. A voice cuts in. Hong Chang's man calls for Dan Woohyun. Our hero says going to the market tells Jang Baeksun to look after Somi. Dan Woohyun walks out. Jang Baeksun's eyes light up, the golden Buddha, and our MC has been heading to the market regularly for weeks. This is the moment. The thief screams loyalty, promises to keep the place spotless. Dan Woohyun warns about trying to run. Jang Baeksun swears not to betray Bro's trust. Our guy reminds the thief about the punishment. The thief waves Dan Woohyun and Somi off, whispers that this is farewell forever. Somi turns back and calls out, "Mister." Somi asks why the two of them are suddenly going out, already ate plenty. Dan Woohyun says no special reason. Our hero finds a stream and starts fishing. Somi asks if Bro will be busy. This dude says, of course. The girl says to catch the food first. Dan Woohyun calls Somi smart. Our MC keeps thinking, Jang Baeksun will definitely try to pull a move. Bro admits being stressed. From the other side, the thief admits the same. Jang Baeksun spots a face and freezes, recognizes the person. The purple-haired man steps forward, says having a good suggestion. Dan Woohyun appears carrying Somi, asks if Jang Baeksun wants to work together again. Jang Baeksun walks into the deal and sets the golden Buddha on the table, tells the buyer to sell it. The buyer examines the statue, comes back with 3 million nyang, says going higher would be hard to move. The thief takes it. The purple-haired man from before is there too. The one-eyed dealer drops a warning. The government has been sweeping hard ever since Jang Baeksun's name started circulating. Getting caught right now means serious charges. Someone at the table mutters, Jang Baeksan got caught? No wonder the area's in an uproar. The purple-haired man fills in the background. Jang Baeksan was the greatest thief the region ever produced. Thanks to the thief's capture, the local magistrate standing with the government jumped. The purple-haired man hopes Jang Baeksan won't cause problems. The thief says not to worry. Then footsteps, closing in fast. Someone shouts trouble. Government forces already have the building surrounded. Soldiers on every side, no exits. People scramble. The first blow lands before anyone can react. Chaos. The purple-haired man walks up to Jang Baeksan completely calm and pulls items straight out of the thief's pocket. Jang Baeksan has no idea when the man got in there. Polite bow, and the purple-haired man walks. The thief screams after the bastard. Government forces shout to catch everyone. Bodies go down. More drop. Jang Baeksan fights out of a grip. In the scramble, the thief spots it. The golden Buddha statue, right there in the chaos. Someone grabs Jang Baeksan, demands to know who tipped off the government. A voice says it's none of the thief's business. The question keeps flying. How did the government find out? Answer: a direct line to the imperial residence. The tip came from the very top. A different question: who actually stole the statue in the first place? The golden Buddha? Stolen from the imperial residence. Whoever pulled that off is on a level that makes every job Jang Baeksan ever ran look small. The thief asks who that person even is. Jang Baeksan bolts, already out the door, breathing hard. Soldiers right behind, don't lose the thief. Jang Baeksan curses. Why are the bastards this persistent? The thief needs to survive this, begs to be left alone, promises never to interfere again, hits a cliff face and starts climbing, finds a grip and goes up, breathing, hands on rock, pulling higher, grabs the next hold. Jang Baeksan drags over the top, tries to catch a breath, and screams. Dan Woohyun is sitting right there, waiting. The thief shrieks. Our guy asks calmly if the thief went to sell the golden Buddha, reminds Jang Baeksan about acting without approval. The thief can't move. Jang Baeksan stares at Dan Woohyun, refuses to accept it. There's no way this dude could have known. Demands to know if Dan Woohyun tracked everything from the start. Calls our hero every name the thief has. Jang Baeksan swears not to get caught. Screams at bro. Dan Woohyun laughs. Our MC counters and sends Jang Baeksan off the edge. The thief shouts goodbye while falling, convinced the escape is real. This dude calls Jang Baeksan the biggest headache of bro's life. The thief isn't going anywhere. Dan Woohyun caught Jang Baeksan mid-fall, holds the thief upside down by the leg, tells the thief to look after those clothes, points out how torn everything is. Jang Baeksan screams about the outfit. The thief groans. Jang Baeksan can't process a person who operates like this. Our guy walks back, pointing out positions, over there and over there. Somi had been watching every exit the entire time. There was never a route out that wasn't already covered. Jang Baeksan screams, asks why Dan Woohyun is everywhere. Back at the manor, our hero stands over the thief and says it. Told Jang Baeksan the thief is within bro's palms. The debt doubles. Dan Woohyun lays out the calculation. The goal pays off 2 million nyang. Jang Baeksan still owes 8 million. The thief's face drops. Jang Baeksan screams bloody bastard at full volume. Our MC adds one more thing. Almost forgot to collect the government bounty on Jang Baeksan. Says planning to use it for Somi's snacks. Slight smile as Dan Woohyun says it. Jang Baeksan cursing about money. Again. The thief stands in the manor courtyard fuming about everything. Somi calls out from behind while Jang Baeksan scrubs. After getting caught, Dan Woohyun worked the thief to the bone for 3 silver nyangs a month. The money Jang Baeksan got paid came from the money our guy took from the thief in the first place. The thief longed for freedom. Fleeing was pointless. Tried to run away countless times over 3 months, beaten every single time. They've run out of everything, barely anything left. Jang Baeksan curses about being sent on errands. Dan Woohyun heads out. The thief follows. Somi appears at the tree line behind them. Jang Baeksan demands to know why the girl is following. The thief tells Somi to stop and go back. If anything happens to the girl, Jang Baeksan's head goes flying too. Somi hesitates. The girl says not wanting to be alone. Jang Baeksan asks if Somi knows where the thief is going. The streets. Can't bring the girl to places packed with people. The thief warns again. If Somi gets hurt, Dan Woohyun will kill Jang Baeksan. Somi promises to follow closely and quietly. The thief sighs and gives in. They walk through the woods. Bro tells Somi to stay close. Animals roam the area. A persimmon drops from a branch. Somi is already running after it. The girl goes deeper into the trees. Dan Woohyun watches. Our hero keeps eyes on Somi. Jang Baeksan catches up. They reach the market. Packed streets, stalls in every direction. The market is denser than expected. The streets got worse since the government cleaned out the black market. Surveillance everywhere. Familiar faces from the black market are shut down completely. Jang Baeksan hesitates, worried about being followed. The thief and Somi move through the crowd. Tension building. A bald man grabs Somi and bolts, laughing about taking the kid. Jang Baeksan's blood drains. The thief is dead today, screams at the kidnapper. The thief charges, demands to know if the bald man understands who just got taken. People watching, the situation spiraling. This is getting complicated fast. Someone screams to stop. Jang Baeksan chases into the woods, realizes the bald man is luring them on purpose. The thief knows it's a trap but can't stop. Somi got caught because of Jang Baeksan, and walking away isn't an option. Screams not to lose the kidnapper, curses every choice that led to this, says bringing Somi was the dumbest move. Jang Baeksan steadies, needs to reach the man before the trap closes. The plan is simple, get to the kidnapper and grab Somi back before anything else happens. Jang Baeksan strikes. The thief swings at the bald man, screaming to put the kid down. A second figure steps out. Dan Woohyun's face flashes in Jang Baeksan's mind. If the thief loses Somi, it's over. Our MC is already moving. The fight spreads out. Blood hits the ground. Dan Woohyun stands at the manor gate alone. The courtyard is quiet. This dude looks over the place. Bro spent an entire life alone, and at some point that changed without anyone deciding it. Jang Baeksan sits nearby thinking Dan Woohyun couldn't get Somi to the market without everything going wrong. But the real problem, Somi is out there right now, in a bad spot. The thought won't leave. Our guy says it flat, needs to find Somi in time. One of the thugs calls the kid tough while watching the beating. The boy is flat on the ground, boots coming in from every angle, face wrecked with cuts and bruises, barely getting air, but the eyes behind that hair are still locked forward. A small voice breaks through, a girl calling for brother. 12 years earlier, that same girl runs up to the boy, all smiles, asking what the brother is doing. The boy grins, was counting today's stolen goods. The floor is buried under bags of food and stolen fabrics piled high. The little sister stares at the pile and asks if stealing this much isn't dangerous. The boy tells the sister not to worry. Parents are gone. Protection is the boy's job now. The girl just needs to stay healthy. The boy takes the sister's hands and promises to take care of the girl until old age. The sister agrees on the spot and later spins around in a gorgeous blue robe, saying it's the prettiest thing ever. The boy sits back laughing, nose in the air, zero guilt about any of it. A sect left out donated children's robes near town. The boy walked right past the free ones and snatched one straight from the shop next door. The sister caught the whole thing mid-theft, jaw-dropping. The boy couldn't care less, grinning wide. The sister puffs up. The robe looked expensive, and the girl had no idea the brother stole it from an actual shop. The brother pats the sister's head to calm the girl down. Both sit together and eat, the sister already smiling again. The one thing the boy keeps turning over, should have hidden the clothes better. The sister didn't come home that night, and the boy searched every street, found the girl lying in an alley nobody goes to, the sister's hand reaching out from the ground. The girl had found the hidden clothes, put them on, and walked out that night. From that day on, the boy hated kids because kids don't listen. Present day, the thugs around the slave bring up the merchant association leader executed over a stolen item the slave passed along. One of the men grabs the girl in green by the collar. The child screams to be released. The man shouts to stay still. The slave grabs the man's arm. The slave demands to know what the men want with the child, cursing at every last one. A kick sends the slave back to the dirt. The thug tells the slave to let go. The girl calls out for Mr. Slave and bites into the thug's arm hard enough to draw blood. The thug slams the girl face first into the ground, calls the child a brat, and gets back up. Reaches for the girl, but the child is already on both feet, arms spread wide between the thugs and the fallen slave. The slave stares up at the kid from the dirt and asks what the girl thinks she's doing. The girl's jaw is set, fist balled, half the size of the shortest thug, and not backing down. The thug says the brat bit him and draws a sword. The slave screams for the girl to stop. The girl won't budge. The small figure stays planted. The slave begs the child to just listen. The girl screams that the slave is going to die at this rate. The girl refuses to run. If the child leaves, the slave will be left alone. The thug with the blade snaps and tells them both to go to hell. The sword comes down. The slave takes the cut. The girl hits the dirt and looks up, calling out for Mr. Dan Woohyun stands behind the thugs, blood already running down our guy's face, eyes cutting through the scene. One move from our hero sends every single thug airborne. The ground cracks under the impact. Dan Woohyun tells them none of them will get an easy death today. The slave is dreaming. The sister must hate waiting alone in that shabby house. The slave jolts awake in a cold sweat. The girl asks if Mr. Slave is finally up. Dan Woohyun checks on the slave too. The slave asks why the girl would do something that reckless. The girl should have just run, wouldn't have gotten hurt. The girl quietly says, Mr. Slave. The wounds are worse than expected. The girl slaps bandages on and tells the slave to hold still. The slave's mind drifts back to yesterday, a dark memory, someone on the ground begging a lord to bring a girl back. The voice goes cold. If the lord can't do that, just die here. The slave admits that's why the escape happened, ran for dear life. Everything after is blank. The slave tells the girl, never do that again. The girl's own life comes first. The girl flat out refuses. The girl likes this place, feels like the old village, and the girl wants to stay. The girl doesn't want to make the slave angrier. The girl adds that the slave is kind of scary. And the slave realizes the kid knew the whole time. The girl promises not to do it again. The girl swears to get stronger and protect everyone, so the slave should quit talking like that. The slave sits there stunned, got scolded by a child. A bird lands on a branch and the scene goes quiet. Night falls, torches cut through the forest, men moving in formation. Dan Woohyun spent the whole night hunting black faction thugs, and the pile of bodies keeps growing. Every beaten thug has the same mark, a broken right cheek. One calls our guy a crazy bastard. Another is face down begging to be spared. A local official stumbles onto the scene. The official spots Dan Woohyun, bows deep, greets our hero as the great warrior. Dan Woohyun brings up the slaves. Too many around here and too many people vanishing. The guards spot our hero and freeze. That's the swordmaster. One official orders the thugs arrested, but the guards won't budge. A captured thug starts bragging about the faction's reach. The idiot acts like the local lord would kneel. Dan Woohyun asks about the black faction. The thug goes pale. How does this guy know that name? The Black Faction, an underworld group across the Central Plains running kidnapping and every crime in the book. The group has given the imperial family headaches for decades. Dan Woohyun figures these guys are a subdivision near Mount Hang. The official warns our hero not to go. Dan Woohyun shuts that down. The Black Faction owes a debt. Our guy offers to deal with Mount Hang personally. Mount Hang, Black Faction base. An officer screams for reports. The men still haven't returned. Another officer says they'll be back soon, but the higher-ups are already panicking. Yang Myung-sang, the local boss, leans back, relaxed. Sent the best of the best. Everything is fine. One subordinate grits teeth. The subordinate can't hold it in. The room rages about the worthless slave who stole everything. And somebody pictures the brat cheerfully running off with armfuls of food. The floor shakes, feels like the mountain itself is cracking. A blast tears through the base, guards screaming, dust and rubble everywhere. Dan Woohyun steps through the wreckage. The pink-haired bruiser demands to know who walked in. Our hero doesn't answer. Dan Woohyun tells the guards to arrest every last one. The guards outside can't believe it. Someone is tearing the Black Faction apart alone. Gold glints off the unconscious thugs on the floor. The guards freeze at the sight. Dan Woohyun stops. Wait a minute. Our guy drops down and starts searching every pocket on everybody while the guards stammer. This dude needs cash for snacks. Dan Woohyun heads out with a packed bag, tells the kids the trip is to sell goods at Jong Market. The people bow and wave as our guy walks off. The townspeople thank the warrior and wish a safe trip. And that's how Dan Woohyun got the money, all to raise Somi in Jongsantai, coins jingling with every step. 3 months pass. Summer hits. Thanks to the expensive loot from the Black Faction raid, the three of them are living better than ever. But there's a problem. A fist clenches tight. Jong Santai smacks the ground mid-training, laughing through the pain. The slave groans face first in the dirt. Somi shows up with a full spread of food. The table is buried. The problem is obvious. Both kids ate so much and rested so hard that the weight piled on fast. And the blame goes straight to Dan Woohyun. Our guy left mountains of food without thinking twice. The result is exactly what you'd expect. Told the kids to eat whatever they want, and the kids took that to heart. Jong Santai can barely move under the extra weight. The slave's health improved, but the figure went in the opposite direction. Dan Woohyun thinks it over. Both are normal people. Can't just send the kids on adventures. Our guy calls both of them over. Dan Woohyun tells Jang Santai that martial arts training starts today. Jang Santai can't believe the words coming out of a real master's mouth. Somi jumps in with a huge okay. Dan Woohyun tells the girl to head to a martial arts school in the nearby forest town. Somi hesitates. The girl heard getting into a school is tough, but Dan Woohyun says that's exactly why the girl should go. Our guy's face goes firm. This is the right path. Dan Woohyun gets into stance. Training kicks off with a bang. Both kids are flat on the ground gasping. Everything hurts and nothing works. Dan Woohyun watches from the side. Our hero asks if there's been any change in the body, anything the kid can feel after the forms. Dan Woohyun corrects the approach. Don't just rely on the book. Feel what the body actually needs. A passerby says our guy is probably the only person who'd teach martial arts this way, and walks off. Dan Woohyun gets completely ignored. Our hero shakes it off and pushes the training forward. Jang Santai screams through a punch. Somi fires off a kick with real force. Both kids collapse, wheezing. Dan Woohyun asks why the kids are moving like that. The kids say the book showed it that way. Our guy tells the kids copying the book step by step is useless. There's no fixed path in martial arts. Every master builds a personal style and writes it down to preserve the method, not to be copied exactly. Dan Woohyun tells the kids to move however feels natural. That's how a real path gets born. Both kids shout, okay. Jang Santai is face down, begging for death. Can't take another single step. The training doesn't stop. Somi calls out to show what the girl learned. Punching sounds echo through the yard, and the kid is landing clean hits. Dan Woohyun admits the original plan was never about martial arts, just wanted Somi to move around and stay healthy. Our guy watches and realizes if the girl keeps this up, Somi will handle herself just fine. Then takes a surprise hit mid-thought. Dan Woohyun accepts it. That works. Our hero calls it for the day and announces the autumn festival feast. Both kids stuff themselves until nothing is left on the table. Next day, back to brutal training, sweat flying. Dan Woohyun curses under the breath, but in the end, both kids clawed back to normal size through pure effort. Jang Santai declares that now the weight is gone, the eating can start again. Dan Woohyun shuts that down with a flat no. A slash tears across the frame, something gets cut in half. Bodies and debris everywhere. Two figures stand in the wreckage. Sima Chan, the Wolf King and Black Faction leader, slams a fist down, demands to know what is happening. Yang Baek-san and So Chuyum step forward. The pair reminds Sima Chan how much money these operations bring in. One underling stammers out confirmation. A strike lands before the next word comes out. The report drops. The Hunan branch and the squad sent after Jang Santai have gone silent. A body on the floor in a pool of blood. Sima Chan says Hunan is the quietest the region has ever been. Sima Chan's eyes narrow. A brutal flashback. Swords and blood in the dark. A blade catches a target mid-swing, traces of a powerful fighter. Sima Chan orders measures taken. The command, capture and interrogate whoever is responsible. The subordinates bow and head out. A village sits under bright sky. Not a single sign of trouble. Dan Woohyun steps outside early. Dan Woohyun looks up. Wind is picking up. Our guy tells Jang Santai to get up. Jang Santai is face down on the ground. Complains training this early is killing the poor fool. Dan Woohyun says it's breakfast time. Let's wake Somi. Jang Santai begs for more rest. Dan Woohyun cracks a knuckle, and Jang Santai bolts upright. Promises to go immediately. The round little bird nearby is trembling from the sound. Somi is already up, meditating in the forest with a bird on the kid's head. Dan Woohyun finds Somi. The girl is already awake. Jang Santai catches up, says everything is fine. Somi latches onto our hero's leg. Breakfast is the greatest thing ever. Dan Woohyun pats the kid and agrees to get moving. The group heads back. Jang Santai carries Somi plus food, asks what's wrong. Dan Woohyun says the wind feels off today. Jang Santai doesn't get it, wonders why this dude is talking about weather. Dan Woohyun turns serious. Tells Jang Santai to check the situation in Yueyang and report back. Jang Santai nearly drops everything because breakfast hasn't happened yet. Dan Woohyun's eyes go dark. The order is immediate. Jang Santai doesn't argue twice. Yueyang, north of Hunan province. Inside a restaurant, plates stacked high. Bang Chugok, Black Faction Wandering Wind Squad captain, sits surrounded by masked men with a tower of empty dishes. A subordinate reports, tomorrow, Magistrate Hong transfers Jang Baek-san and the captured men to the imperial family. Bang Chugok finds it odd. The authorities kept Jang Baek-san in Yueyang for 3 whole months. The captain sees 2 options. Asks what the odds are of a rescue. The subordinates head out to prepare. Every available fighter deployed. The captain confirms the plan. Bang Chugok finishes the last bowl and stands. Jang Santai walks into the same building. Bang Chugok's eyes lock on. Jang Santai strolls through town thinking everything looks normal. Bang Chugok grabs Jang Santai from behind. Jang Santai bolts, feet pounding down the alley. A figure watches from above. Bang Chugok spots the dead end and grins. The captain catches Jang Santai with 1 hit. Bang Chugok pins the kid and demands answers. Dark pause. Jang Santai is back with Dan Woohyun, shaking, swears it actually happened. Jang Santai says Black Faction members are all over Yueyang. Our guy listens, face unreadable. Dan Woohyun wants every single detail. The Black Faction was started by a figure whose identity nobody knew, roughly 50 years ago. A robed silhouette stands alone in a grand hall. Jang Santai continues the report. The Black Faction was founded roughly 50 years ago by a figure nobody could identify. No one knows who leads the organization, and every rumor about the founder's identity has stayed a rumor. Jang Santai adds that the group was active early on, but went into hiding after being chased hard. Dan Woohyun takes it in. A force with that kind of reach needed serious backing. Our guy walks through town with Somi on Jang Santai's back. The current black faction has been hiding to avoid getting caught. Dan Woohyun keeps thinking. The old black faction operated in a completely different Murim, one where power meant everything. Back then, the faction had enough muscle to challenge entire regions. Compared to that, the current Murim is so peaceful, it's boring. Dan Woohyun stops, just remembered about the magistrate in Yueyang who's holding the captured black faction members. A bird sits on a bare branch. Bang Chuguk is already on the move in Yueyang. A guard from the magistrate's place gets grabbed. Bang Chuguk's squad storms the magistrate's building. Bodies hit the floor. One guard confirms the situation is as bad as it looks. A purple-haired black faction member stands over the captured guard, laughing. The purple-haired fighter says the guard was brought here for questions. The interrogation starts. Questions about the black faction prisoners and where Jang Baeksun is being held. The guard doesn't understand why the black faction would go this far for a few captured men. More black faction fighters crowd the room. Dan Woohyun is convinced someone larger is pulling the strings behind all of this. Our guy's face stays locked in thought. The purple-haired fighter notices the guard remembers more than the guard is saying. Pressure increases. The interrogator warns that the next answer better be real. The guard claims to know nothing. A strike drops the guard to the floor. The guard expects to die here. But the guard made a promise as a man and refuses to break the word given to the magistrate. The purple-haired fighter accepts the answer. The guard didn't expect that response. The guard is left on the floor, barely breathing. The guard mentions the number of soldiers the magistrate has left, asks if the black faction understands what that means. Bang Chuguk asks if the guard recognizes a specific weapon. Bang Chuguk pulls it out. The Dan Huan fighter, a compressed martial arts tool. The impact hits the building. The guard curses. Reinforcements from the magistrate's compound arrive. Bang Chuguk curses right back. Dan Woohyun sends Jang Santai to buy time at the magistrate's place. Jang Santai takes off running. Jang Santai charges straight into the chaos. Flames and black faction fighters everywhere, and the kid mutters that near-death experiences are becoming a regular thing. Bang Chuguk spots Jang Santai and asks what that was. Jang Santai lands a clean hit on one of the fighters from behind. Full force. The only attack Jang Santai knows is a surprise attack and running away with someone on the back, screaming for the magistrate's lord to come help while the lord can't believe someone like Jang Santai is the one doing the protecting. A figure stands under the moonlight with a blade raised. The blade catches the light. Dan Woohyun's eyes lock forward. One clean cut, our guy decides it's time to head out personally. Jang Santai tears through the forest at night with the guard on the kid's back. The guard groans, barely holding on. The guard forces out a question about who did this. Jang Santai stops long enough for the guard to get a look. The kid introduces as a subordinate of Lord Dan. The guard's eyes snap wide. Lord Dan, Jang Santai lays out the full plan with a tongue sticking out. Dan Woohyun needs the guard indebted so Somi can live a more peaceful life. The kid's face goes dead serious. In order to squeeze this guy for everything, getting out alive comes first. Black faction fighters close in from behind. Jang Santai picks up speed. A hit catches one of the pursuers mid-step. Another fighter goes down before reaching the pair. Moonlight over the trees. Dan Woohyun steps into the clearing, blade drawn. Jang Santai spots our guy, and the relief hits instantly. Our hero moves toward the black faction without slowing down. Bang Chuguk squares up. The captain screams and swings with everything, tells Dan Woohyun to drop dead. The strike gets absorbed clean. Bang Chuguk curses. The purple-haired fighter is still latched on and won't let go. A massive impact tears through the ground. Purple chi erupts from the blast. Bang Chuguk pulls the weapon and charges again, demands to know who this guy is. A slash cuts through. The ground cracks under the force. The martial god, an info box drops. Only one martial artist in the history of the Central Plains ever earned that title. The martial god reached immortality, stood above every fighter of the era, the strongest without question. Only the martial god was truly unstoppable, and that's how the legend was born. Dan Woohyun tells everyone to be quiet. This dude says the guard committed no crime. The guard stammers back, asking what the black faction even wants. A clean strike drops another fighter. Dan Woohyun asks if these are the black faction. Bang Chuguk confirms while shaking, stammers the name, and asks if Dan Woohyun intends to stand in the way, knowing who the captain serves. Our guy calls them trash. A pile of trash grouped together is still trash. And when Bang Chuguk starts protesting, Bro cuts it short and says the captain talks too much. The guard mutters that Dan Woohyun is an incredible warrior. Our hero tears through the remaining fighters in one sweep. Jang Santai spits says incredible is garbage and asks if that monster looks human to anybody. The guard catches that, asks if the kid just insulted a master. Jang Santai doesn't flinch, says the kid would insult the emperor too if nobody was around, and the guard loses it, calling Jang Santai a lowly servant. The guard grabs Jang Santai by the collar, asks if the kid forgot who saved that life, and Jang Santai fires right back with a curse, while the guard demands to know how a grown person hits a master. The guard says the kid needs a flogging to fix that attitude. Jang Santai calls the guard a condescending freak. Dan Woohyun drops one word, quiet, and both freeze mid-swing. Our hero walks ahead and tells them to go back home. The three head off under the night sky. The next day, the government building got broken into early morning. Bodies on the floor. The prisoners are all dead, and the survivors aren't far behind. The magistrate's office sits empty, gone, without a trace. A search team gets thrown together, and the whole city loses it. Word hits the taverns. The locals figure the magistrate must be hiding out by now. One man at the table can barely eat. The other decides to join the search team. The man says a person that important wouldn't just vanish and make a fool of everyone. The companion agrees and mentions checking in at the compound. A quiet prayer for the magistrate's safety. The magistrate is already at Dan Woohyun's compound, alive, face flushed red. Somi peeks out at the newcomer. A woman smacks the magistrate across the face while holding a child. The dude said the wrong thing. Dan Woohyun picks Somi up and tells the girl to greet the magistrate. Somi stares with big eyes. Our guy goes full gentle mode. The magistrate melts and mutters the kid is adorable. Somi latches onto Dan Woohyun. The magistrate tries to guess the girl's age and family, gets smacked a second time. The room is laughing. A forest trail. Sima-chan asks if contact with the Yueyang squad broke. The subordinate stammers a confirmation from the floor of the Grand Hall. Sima-chan grabs the subordinate. Another report. The squad failed, and the last letter had nothing useful. The Wolf King asks what the odds are the squad is dead. The subordinate says less than half. The squad might be returning, but a martial master could have taken them out. The last letter mentioned nothing about a martial master. Sima-chan doesn't like it and says so openly. The Wolf King orders another search team using fighters who move covertly. Dan Woohyun tells Samtai to protect the manor and watch the captured black faction members. The magistrate heads back to Yueyang tomorrow and brings constables to a meeting point 3 days later. The guard asks which place. Tianzi Mountain, the black faction headquarters that Bang Chugok mentioned. This dude says the plan is to go there personally. Jang Santai and the guard freeze. Dan Woohyun tells the kids to worry about themselves, calls them pathetic for losing to a single opponent. Bro walks off and tells them to get strong enough that nobody pushes them around, asks if they're embarrassed getting beaten at that age. Jang Santai curses. The guy thinks everyone is built the same way, and the guard just shakes. Training kicks off, fists on wood. Jang Santai groans about being stuck in the middle. More hits landing. Dan Woohyun walks alone through open fields, thinks about traveling solo since a young age, and notices martial arts and the natural flow of the landscape. Our hero opens a hand and chi flows from the fingertips. Our MC calls it a joy in life. A voice shouts from the trees. Bandits block the road and demand everything on the traveler. Dan Woohyun turns, says it's been a while since a shakedown, and asks what if there's nothing to give. The bandit leader calls it ridiculous and orders the crew to grab Dan Woohyun. Swords come out. Our guy identifies the group as the bandits causing trouble in the area, and they freeze. One clean hit splits the ground. A woman in blue steps out from behind a tree, says strong young men ganging up on the weak is shameful. A woman in blue steps onto the road with a sword drawn. Namgung Seol of the Namgung family, one of the 8 great families. The woman tells the bandits a group of grown men ganging up on a traveler is shameful. The bandit leader asks who the hell she is. Dan Woohyun watches from behind while Namgung Seol takes a stance. The woman charges in screaming. One clean slash drops the first wave. A bandit hits the dirt groaning. The second one folds right after. Namgung Seol stands over the pile with the sword at the side. The woman tells Dan Woohyun that without her showing up, the bandits would have been real trouble. Namgung Seol points the blade right at our guy's face. Dan Woohyun stares back with a blank look. The woman takes the blank stare as admiration and gets giddy, figures Dan Woohyun can't get over the swordsmanship. Our hero tells her the sword work is impressive and mentions hearing about the family. Namgung Seol eats the compliment up, fully convinced the man is stunned. The woman keeps going about the family reputation. Mid-sentence, Namgung Seol catches Bro crouching over a bandit and asks what is going on. Our MC says taking their money, obviously. The woman asks why. Dan Woohyun says these coins were stolen from others, just picking them up. Another handful drops into the bag. Namgung Seol stands speechless. This man is full-on plundering unconscious bandits. Our guy flips a single coin her way, and Namgung Seol catches it wide-eyed. The woman screams at Dan Woohyun to stop. Namgung Seol demands a bigger share. Our hero says that's all there is. The woman calls it a lie. Namgung Seol did all the fighting, and Dan Woohyun walked off with every coin, asks if our MC is even listening. Namgung Seol holds up a silver nyang and asks what one coin is supposed to do. Dan Woohyun's eyes go sharp. Bro says never gone hungry a day in that life. Namgung Seol mutters fine. Our guy asks if that's why the woman swings a sword so conceitedly. Namgung Seol snaps and asks what Dan Woohyun just said. The blade comes down. Wind rips through the trees. This dude vanishes before the strike lands. Namgung Seol freezes mid-swing. The woman looks around asking where Dan Woohyun went and what the hell just happened. A town comes into view. Dan Woohyun orders a bowl of noodles at a restaurant. The owner says, coming right up. Our MC sits at the counter eating, corrects the thought mid-chew. Not a troublesome matter, a troublesome person who wasted good travel time. A man in red stands nearby, silent. Dan Woohyun keeps eating. The man exchanges a look with a second stranger. The pair keep watching and clearing their throats. Our guy drops coins on the table. The innkeeper waves and wishes a safe trip. Bro walks out. Dan Woohyun's feet hit the dirt road. The steps stop cold. Our hero stands still, staring ahead. The two men from the restaurant watch from the doorway. Dan Woohyun covers the mouth. A cough breaks through. Blood on the open palm. Dan Woohyun's feet hit the road. The steps stop cold. The two men from the restaurant are trailing behind. Our guy already knows. Overturned chairs and blood across the floor. The two followers are done. Dan Woohyun stands over the bodies with the blade drawn. Bro figures the food was tampered with. Our mech looks at the blood on an open palm. The poison from the meal is still working. Dan Woohyun walks away from the wreckage. A white-haired fighter stands in the way inside the Black Faction compound. Our hero stops, senses more inside. Dan Woohyun says the targets are right here and draws steel. Blades meet. This dude stands ready, soaked in blood from head to belt. A Black Faction regional leader in a wide hat gets identified. Sima-chan sits in the upper hall and asks a kneeling subordinate about the missing squads. The subordinate stammers. Only one person is responsible, and the reason is unclear. Sima-chan narrows the eyes. The Wolf King asks if the man actually expects Sima-chan to believe one person did all of this. An impact tears through the building. The fighters downstairs are already finished. Sima-chan goes wide-eyed. Blood covers the walls. Every fighter on this floor is down. Dan Woohyun's clothes are soaked red. Our hero walks through the wreckage towards Sima-chan. The encounter lasts only a second, but the Wolf King recognizes the face and calls Dan Woohyun the one who's been tearing through the Black Faction. Sima-chan asks if Bro cleared the entire first floor alone. Our MC towers over the Wolf King, blood dripping off the blade. Sima-chan reads the look on Dan Woohyun's face. Our guy doesn't even consider the Wolf King a real fight. Dan Woohyun grips the sword hilt. One strike sends Sima-chan through the wall. Wood and stone scatter. The compound from the outside. A voice yells to arrest everyone on sight. The magistrate rides in with constables screaming to tie every fighter down. A constable asks who these people are. The magistrate says the place is the Black Faction headquarters and warns the constables not to let their guard down. A constable stammers, the Black Faction, and the magistrate confirms not a single one gets away. Black Faction members sit tied to posts on the ground. The constables salute. The magistrate laughs and tells the constables that even the magistrate can't believe what just happened. The magistrate walks further in and asks who on earth that fighter is. Dan Woohyun lands one more hit. Impact cracks the ground. The magistrate freezes mid-step. The body hits the dirt, groaning. Sima-chan lies face down in the rubble with blood running. A constable identifies the fallen man as the Black Faction leader. The magistrate's jaw drops. This dude stands over the defeated Wolf King covered in blood. The magistrate runs over screaming great warrior with stars in the eyes. Dan Woohyun says the job is done. Our MC says time to head back. Promise Somi to come home early. The magistrate bows deep, thanking Dan Woohyun, and says the magistrate will come find our guy once everything is settled. Bro says fine, and tells the magistrate not to forget. The magistrate asks what exactly. Dan Woohyun smirks. Our hero says not that. This dude says the bounty on these guys. Coins practically float around the magistrate's head. The magistrate pictures the reward money. The magistrate agrees. Constables draw swords and haul out prisoners. The Black Faction is finally caught. The constables curse the fighters and drag the rest out. The magistrate's office never handled anything this big. Two townspeople chat below a building while Namgung Seol watches from the rooftop. Namgung Seol says the whole situation feels off. The magistrate sits thinking. Dan Woohyun found the Black Faction at Tianzi Mountain when even the Murim Alliance couldn't, and doing it with just constables makes no sense. The magistrate is sure somebody is behind all of it, and asks who the hell that could be. The Murim Alliance headquarters? Word about the Black Faction's fall already reached the top. Alliance leader Nam Gung-chun confirms a powerful martial master is backing the magistrate, and the rumors weren't false. The Sword Emperor calls it an impossible feat for a mere magistrate to pull off alone. Jae-woon stands at the side listening. The military advisor says the Alliance needs to find this hidden master and win the fighter over. The Murim is about to get noisy for a while. Jae-woon adds that if Namgung Seol meets the rumored master, the Alliance must be prepared to confront and bring the person back. The Sword Emperor notes there's no telling whether the master is even friendly. Open road, Namgung Seol on foot. The woman's stomach growls so loud the trees probably heard it. Trying to look dignified while starving is not going well. A compound comes into view ahead. Namgung Seol walks closer and spots a figure outside. Somi sits right there in the open. The girl looks up with big eyes. Namgung Seol crouches down to meet the kid. Somi pats the belly and says already full. Namgung Seol calls the girl a kind child. Somi latches onto the woman. Names get exchanged, Somi asks back. The girl compliments the woman's name, and Namgung Seol eats it right up. Somi mentions having no parents. Dan Woohyun steps out and says the father is right here. Somi lights up at the sight. Our guy stands with the girl in front. The two together. Namgung Seol goes wide-eyed. The woman recognizes the face from the Bandit Road. Namgung Seol stammers and asks if this is the same person from back then. Bro confirms without much interest. The woman's brain kicks into overdrive. Namgung Seol is fully convinced the heavens dropped this man right at the woman's feet to help. The woman hits the ground, begs Dan Woohyun to take Namgung Seol as a student. Our MC stares down with zero expression on the face. Namgung Seol screams for help. This dude asks why. The woman fires back about saving our guy from the bandits. Dan Woohyun asks what that has to do with anything. Namgung Seol won't let up. Dan Woohyun holds Somi and thinks it over. Our hero weighs the options. Somi grabs on tight and calls out for Dad. The girl keeps going. Dad, 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 not stopping until the whole compound hears it. The building from outside, bags packed up. Somi stands in front of a pot stirring. The girl cooked for everyone. The whole group sits down to eat together. Namgung Seol takes a bite, and the table erupts laughing. Bro watches the scene from the side. Talk about martial arts training comes up. Namgung Seol gets into it. More laughing across the room. The evening settles over the compound. Somi is fast asleep, mumbling about wanting things to stay like this. A pot simmers over the fire. Gold coins spread across the table. The bounty on the Black Faction is serious money. Dan Woohyun and Samtai go over the hall together. Our guy counts through the reward. Samtai agrees on the next steps. A door swings open. Samtai steps outside into the night. Samtai says Somi is a kind and adorable kid. Can't get over how good the girl is. Samtai asks Dan Woohyun if it's about time to send Somi to a proper school. Our hero turns with a completely blank stare. This dude repeats the word school, like the concept just landed from another planet. The magistrate drops the pitch, says a person must attend school, and not knowing how to read is the greatest embarrassment. Dan Woohyun stares back while the magistrate gets right in our guy's face. Somi grabs a fish out of the pond, squealing, "Couldn't care less about the school debate." Our hero says the idea needs thinking over. The magistrate's eyes narrow. The school building in full view. Somi sits by the pond, dipping feet in the water. The girl looks up. A voice cuts in. A boy stands over Somi, demanding to know who the girl is and what Somi is doing in the boy's house. The boy screams again, asking why the girl is here. A foot steps in. The magistrate charges in, calls the boy Hong Jin-rang, and asks why the son is screaming at a guest. Hong Jin-rang stammers and calls the man father. Somi mutters Mr. through tears. The magistrate asks if making a girl cry is how the boy was raised. The magistrate says the guest is precious and asks how Hong Jin-rang dares scream at Somi. The boy stammers back. Hong Jin-rang bows and forces out an apology. Somi tells the magistrate everything is fine. The magistrate crouches down to check on Somi, tells Hong Jin-rang to apologize properly. Hong Jin-rang watches in dead silence. The boy trembles. Can't figure out why the father treats a stranger better. The magistrate and Somi laugh together like old friends, flowers floating around. Hong Jin-rang hits the floor screaming about hating the father while the two keep bonding in the background. Somi grabs Dan Woohyun's bandaged hand on the way back. This dude walks off with the girl. Somi already decided the two kids will be best friends, while Hong Jin-rang fumes in a thought bubble. Dan Woohyun asks Somi about school. The girl looks up and asks if Somi can really go too. Bro says, of course, as long as the girl wants to. Somi's face lights up. The girl jumps up and down, holding our MC's hand, screaming about wanting to go. Nighttime, Namgung-seol sighs about how the noble family's kids at school are trouble. Our hero and the woman sit together talking. Namgung-seol says the woman changed her own name back in the day to hide the family background. 10-year-old Namgung-seol beat every bully who tried anything. The woman stands proud, remembering it. Dan Woohyun says Somi is stronger than people think. Somi in training gear throws a clean punch. The girl has been learning. Namgung-seol says the group is family. The woman's eyes lock in. Dan Woohyun promises to protect Somi with everything. The martial god's eyes flash red in the dark. Anyone who touches that child becomes the enemy. The next day, Namgung-seol holds Somi's hand heading out. Somi in a pink dress with flowers in the hair shouts a loud yes. Bro watches the two leave. Namgung-seol confirms the school is in Yueyang. The woman looks back with a soft face. Somi beams the whole way. Chibi Somi and Namgung-seol pump fists at the entrance. Namgung-seol watches Somi walk toward the door. The girl waves to the other kids and promises to see everyone later. The door shuts. Namgung-seol exhales. The woman says the girl is dropped off and it's time to look around. Namgung-seol walks off through the grounds. Somi stands in front of the classroom. First day of school. The teacher leads the lesson while kids sit at desks. The instructor tells the class to follow along. Somi looks around the room. The girl spots a familiar face. Hong Jin-rang sits up straight and stammers. The boy can't believe who just walked in. The two lock eyes. Somi and the magistrate's son are in the same class. Namgung-seol runs in screaming, says the woman finally confirmed the martial master helping the magistrate. Namgung-seol finds Dan Woohyun fishing by the lake and says the woman found the right person. Our guy glances back. Dan Woohyun says having no idea who the Murim 5 swords are, no ties with the Alliance. Namgung-seol figures the group works in secret and asks if the Alliance should know. The woman's face lights up. The boring days are over. Namgung-seol laughs while Bro keeps fishing without turning around. Dan Woohyun says going with the woman. This dude mentions wanting to see the 5 swords in person. Namgung-seol jumps at the chance. The two agree to go check it out. Nighttime at the compound. Somi tells Dan Woohyun about learning to draw characters at school. The girl sits on our MC's lap and says not knowing what it all is yet, but it's fun. Bro says that's good. Somi adds learning calligraphy for the first time. The girl trails off. Namgung-seol says Somi enjoyed school. The woman asks if Dan Woohyun noticed. Our hero asks what. Namgung-seol points out Somi talked about lessons, but didn't say a word about friends. Dan Woohyun goes silent. Somi at school, standing alone while other kids talk around the girl. Namgung-seol tells our guy not to worry, says it's the first day, asks if Dan Woohyun is still going to the Murim 5 swords base. Bro says yeah. Namgung-seol holds sleeping Somi and says they'll leave after putting the girl to bed, the Murim 5 swords base at night. Inside, a muscular man in fur and a gray-haired fighter talk about people appearing after the black faction fell. The leader says never having heard of the group responsible. The gray-haired subordinate responds. A palm cracks across the subordinate's face. The leader asks if the subordinate thinks the 5 swords are useless bandits. The man apologizes fast. The leader keeps going about the faction. The leader draws a blade and kicks the subordinate across the room, screams about daring to ignore the Lord's words. The muscular man decides to confirm everything personally and orders the rest to track the targets down. The gray-haired subordinate on the floor thinks that if given the choice, the man would never pick this lord. A bird chirps on a branch. Morning at the compound. Namgung-seol walks up to Dan Woohyun with a bright face. Our guy hands the woman a bag. Gold coins fill the inside. Travel money for the road. Namgung-seol clutches the bag in disbelief while Somi and Bro watch. The woman stands by the gate one last time. Namgung-seol walks off and tells them to take care. Somi sniffles and grabs our hero's sleeve, asks if the girl really can't see Namgung-seol anymore. This dude says if it's fated they'll meet again, and if not, probably won't. Dan Woohyun adds the idea might be hard for Somi to get right now. Bro says the connection between them doesn't look cut, and the girl will probably see the woman again soon. Somi asks if that's true, and our MC confirms. The night before, Somi had fallen asleep curled up in Namgung-seol's lap. The girl whispers about wanting to all live together. Dan Woohyun asks if school has been all right. Somi smiles. Our guy pats the girl's head with a bandaged hand. The two stand side by side. Somi grabs Bro's arm tight and promises not to get discouraged or sad. Dan Woohyun smiles, and it reaches the eyes for once. Our hero's gaze locks on the girl. This dude says the name is Dan Woohyun, and from now on, Somi will be Dan Somi, the daughter. Dan Woohyun pulls Somi in close. The girl stares up with wide eyes. Bro pinches Somi's nose and the kid scrunches right up. Somi says, understood. Yue Yang, the town in full view. Footsteps through the streets. Our MC strolls the market with a companion while locals mutter about martial artists showing up again. The Murim five swords march through town, the bearded leader in fur at the front with subordinates behind. Dan Woohyun walks past eating a skewer. The five swords leader and dark-haired subordinate pass close. The pressure from the big man is impossible to miss. Our guy stops mid-bite. The bearded leader up close. Out on a forest road, Namgung Seol drops from above and scatters a group of attackers across the path. The woman lands with sword drawn. The five swords leader grins. The full crew marches forward. A shockwave cracks through the road. Dan Woohyun thinks catching onto something interesting. Bro's face locks in. Mountains at sunset, deep in the forest. Namgung Seol marches ahead while the group of travelers behind the woman gasps for air. Every last one of them looks ready to pass out. The woman stops and glances back. Namgung Seol faces the group as new figures close in. 5 masked fighters slam down onto the path. The ground cracks under the landing. Namgung Seol holds the blade out, while the travelers behind the woman scream, asking what just happened. The Murim Five Swords crew appears on the ridge above. The bearded leader towers at the center. Namgung Seol looks up. The leader stares down. The woman grips the blade tighter. The bearded man smirks. Namgung Seol swallows. One of the dark-haired subordinates grabs the leader's arm from behind. The leader's eye narrows, asks about the ones who took down the black faction. Namgung Seol stammers that everything will be fine, and points, says they're right there. The travelers stumble forward in panic, the fat one at the front sweating through every layer. Namgung Seol forces a grin that convinces absolutely nobody. A few days ago, Hasinung tells the crew the group is making it big this time. The fat man pounds a fist to the chest and claims to know everyone from the Alliance that matters. Hasinung asks when the crew has ever failed, lays out the plan to use the black faction's fall. One of the gang warns they're dealing with the Namgung clan. The fat man scoffs. The crew crouches behind the trees, ready to move. Hasinung says running into Namgung Seol on the streets was pure luck. The fat man calls it the shot of a lifetime. If this works, the group is set for good. The whole gang drops to the knees in front of Namgung Seol. The woman asks if this lot took down the black faction. Hasinung looks back and confirms it with a straight face. Namgung Seol faces the crew, buys every word. Hasinung clenches a fist and declares the plan a success. The present, Hasinung pours sweat in front of the five swords leader, stammering about doing everything for the Alliance with zero recognition. The fat man's whole face drips, blurts out that the group tricked Namgung Seol, and the woman suspects nothing. The five swords leader throws the head back laughing. The pressure from the leader's aura pins everyone flat. Namgung Seol and the crew freeze in place. Hasinung tells the gang not to worry and says the fat man will handle it. A glowing blade gets drawn. The fat man steps forward. The five swords leader grabs the massive weapon and tells Hasinung to bring it on. The leader swings, says the man must not value living. Hasinung grinds the teeth. In that case, fires off the world-breaking sword technique. Namgung Seol gasps. The whole attack was just a smokescreen. Hasinung screams for everyone to run. The crew bolts into the trees while Namgung Seol yells for them to wait. The five swords leader and dark-haired subordinate sit on a branch overhead watching Namgung Seol stand alone in the fading smoke. Namgung Seol goes blank-faced and asks what the hell just happened. The subordinate stifles a laugh. Pfft! The leader grabs the head, cackling. Namgung Seol fumes. The leader keeps going. The bearded man declares the Murim belongs to the strong. Losers shut up and show respect. The dark-haired subordinate draws both blades. The subordinate drops down. The leader gives the order. The bearded man tells Namgung Seol to entertain the Lord or get ripped apart. The subordinate slams Namgung Seol into the dirt. Dan Woohyun walks out of the trees. The subordinate on the ground looks up in shock. Our guy holds a chunk of bark in a bandaged hand and calls the trick the group pulled pretty interesting. Bro's eyes flash gold, says it's been a while since seen anyone fight that well. The subordinate freezes, an impact tears through the clearing. The five swords leader asks who this is. A shockwave rips the trees apart. Namgung Seol watches, notes our hero wields the massive blade with one hand alone. The speed on top of the strength stuns the woman. Dan Woohyun and the leader trade blows mid-air. Namgung Seol grits the teeth and says the weakness belongs to Namgung Seol alone, not the clan. The leader mocks, says the Namgung clan got too arrogant just because the family produced a sword emperor. Blades crash. A hit sends the leader flying. The ground cracks under the landing. The bearded man stands with a massive blade and says losers keep the mouth shut and respect the victor. This dude steps in. The leader screams to die and goes full force. A single coin cuts through the air. Dan Woohyun says the leader forgot one piece. Someone asks why Bro is still in Yueyang when the man said leaving today. Our MC says the warning was already given, that stubbornness kept the leader from seeing what's real. A coin cuts through the air. Dan Woohyun says the leader forgot one piece. Our guy says the warning was already given. Bro adds that stubbornness kept the leader from seeing what's real. The Five Swords leader grinds the teeth, asking what this brat is. Dan Woohyun stands over the beaten subordinate while the dark-haired man stares up from the dirt. Our hero asks if the man wants to tag along. Namgung Seol can't believe it. That swordsmanship was real. The woman's eyes blow wide. Dan Woohyun knows martial arts. Namgung Seol starts thinking back. The first meeting was on the road to Tango Mountain. The black faction fell right after. Namgung Seol puts it together, and the color drains from the woman's face. Namgung Seol chases our MC, asking who the man really is. This dude says borrowing the woman's sword. Namgung Seol can't believe Bro plans to fight with that blade. Dan Woohyun grips the borrowed sword with a bandaged hand and tells the woman not to worry. Our guy points the blade forward and tells the leader to bring it on. The bearded man loses it, screams about whether this brat knows who the leader is. The leader charges. Namgung Seol realizes the woman couldn't block that swordsmanship either. Our hero reads every angle clean. The leader can't land a single swing. The bearded man screams again, asking if the brat knows who the leader is. Blades cross. Dan Woohyun says knowing the leader very well, Bro sends the bearded man flying. The leader can't process it. Our MC blocked the great sword mid-swing with 2 fingers. The impact tears through the ground. The leader stammers that it's impossible. The bearded man hits the dirt, asking how this dude fights at that level. Dan Woohyun says the problem is focus on speed with no real strength behind each swing. The leader admits feeling the limits of relying on the great sword's weight, asks what our hero could know about that. The bearded man fires up. The leader screams about spinning every second, pushing striking speed past that limit. The man's fist clenches. The great sword comes down at max speed, every ounce of effort in one swing, and Dan Woohyun swats it aside. Bro says the speed can't match, and the great sword doesn't carry enough power. The Five Swords leader drops face first, admits having nothing of the man's own ability. Dan Woohyun stands over with the borrowed blade. Our guy grips the cracked sword and says, never belittling the leader's effort. A massive slash rips across the clearing. This dude cuts through the leader's last charge. Our MC tells the man to train another 1,000 years before trying again. The leader coughs blood and hits the ground. The dust clears across the wrecked clearing. Dan Woohyun walks up and drops the sword in front of Namgung Seol, says, returning it. Namgung Seol sinks to the knees and asks if our guy was the one who took down the black faction. The woman asks why Dan Woohyun never said a word. Bro tells Namgung Seol to stop worrying about useless things, says knowing when to ignore what's seen or heard matters more. Our hero tells the woman to consider today a blessing. Dan Woohyun walks off, adds that surviving a fight against that opponent with the swordsmanship Namgung Seol is so proud of should be enough. The night sky over the mountains. Footsteps on the road. A second pair of bare feet follows close behind. Dan Woohyun walks ahead while the dark-haired subordinate trails at a distance. This dude turns and asks why the man keeps following. The subordinate grins ear to ear and begs to stay by our MC's side. The Five Swords leader mid-swing in the subordinate's memory, training men across the land. The leader's raw power was real, but only raw. The dark-haired subordinate clenches a fist, says finally finding that person. The man who can push the subordinate to greater heights. The dark-haired man drops to the knees and begs to stay by Dan Woohyun's side. This dude walks off without turning, says no thanks. The subordinate catches up and begs again. Bro says no. The dark-haired man says it doesn't matter and plans to follow even without permission. Dan Woohyun stops and says if the man doesn't want to sleep right here for good, walk away. The night sky over the lake. Our guy plants a kick straight into the subordinate's gut. The man drops hard. Dan Woohyun notes the brat is strong for the age. But that hatred in the man's eyes catches our hero's attention. Bro says having pride as a martial artist is fine, but the more hatred the man carries, the more dangerous it gets. The subordinate lies flat on the ground. Dan Woohyun adds that if the man can't control those emotions, the man won't last long. This dude walks off alone, says the whole thing reminds our MC of the old Jianghu. A splash of water crashes down. The subordinate groans from the ground. The dark-haired man wakes up, soaked. Someone says the man finally came to. The subordinate asks what happened. A Five Swords member screams about the man being a traitor. The crew calls the man ungrateful, says taking the subordinate in from the edge of death earned this betrayal. The beating keeps going. The crew demands to know who the subordinate was with. The subordinate spits back that the crew neglected the man and treated the man worse than a dog, says that a lot of them only lashed out because the subordinate became more famous. A hand grips the sword handle, trembling. The 5 swords members keep swinging and ask if the man plans to struggle till the end. The subordinate fires back with one last burst, screams and swings at the whole crew. The dark-haired man's vision blurs. Can't stop here. Bare feet drag through dirt and blood. Can't die in a place like this. The subordinate's face barely holds together, says needing to survive and become the strongest. Somi walks through town with 2 friends, says loving that Jiak and the girl became close. Jiak says the same back. Somi offers to split the cost, sweets and dumplings. Hong Jinrang fires back asking why the boy has to pay for dumplings, complains they cost more. The boy caves and says fine. Somi cheers and thanks Jinrang while Jiak claps behind them. Somi bows to the stall owner with a huge grin. The girl stops mid-step. Somi's face changes. Dan Woohyun, outside the school at night, says it's strange. Our guy notes it's past school time. Bro heads toward the entrance, says it shouldn't be this late. Our hero calls out. Nobody answers. Dan Woohyun asks the shopkeeper about Somi. The woman says seeing the girl with a friend about 2 hours ago. 2 hours. This dude thanks the woman and heads south. Dan Woohyun walks through the night streets. Our MC stops, hears crying from inside a building. Somi sits on the ground crying and calling for dad. Blood-stained dumplings scattered everywhere. Dan Woohyun steps in and asks what the girl is doing here. Herbs and leaves laid out on cloth. Somi gathered everything the girl could find. The dark-haired subordinate lies face down, barely breathing. Somi grabs Bro's sleeve and asks for help. The girl looks up with tears and says wanting to save the man. Somi, Hong Jinrang, and Jiak stare down at the injured subordinate, all 3 kids frozen in place. The group huddles around the dark-haired man on the ground while Somi clings tight. The subordinate groans. The man's head drops. Jinrang says the man will die at this rate. Somi's face tightens. The girl remembers lying alone on the ground just like this, abandoned with nobody coming. Dan Woohyun walks in. Jiak looks up confused. Somi turns with wide eyes. Our guy stands over the scene at night. Bro recognizes the face, says knowing this person. The subordinate lies covered in cuts and bruises. Dan Woohyun remembers the man begging to follow. This dude kneels and asks if Somi is trying to save the man. The girl nods. Our MC asks why. Somi stammers that the man looked lonely all alone. Dan Woohyun asks what else. The girl chokes up and says the man doesn't want to die. Somi breaks down crying. Our hero holds the girl close and says understanding. Bro tells the kids they must be tired, says taking care of the man and to go wash up at the inn. Jinrang stammers and agrees. Jinrang tells Somi to stop crying. Jiak takes the girl's hand and Somi wipes the tears. Dan Woohyun watches them walk off. This dude checks the subordinate on the floor, says the man got real lucky. The crescent moon, the inn at night. Somi sits next to our MC, fidgeting. The girl asks if the mister can be saved. Dan Woohyun says not being sure, says doing everything possible. Our guy sits with Somi on the lap under the night sky. Somi says hoping the man makes it. Bro smiles and tells the girl the man will pull through if Somi works hard looking after the man. The girl lights up and asks if that's true. Dan Woohyun says yes, because Somi is a child born with great luck. The girl tilts the head and repeats it back confused. Our hero laughs and tells Somi not to worry about it. Somi bolts off to nurse the man. The servant watches the kids sprint past with the broom still in hand. The servant tells this dude the man is already half dead, asks if Somi would be more hurt when the man dies. Our MC says Somi might feel sad, but the man could survive and make the girl happy. The servant scoffs and says giving Dan Woohyun every asset the servant owns if the man pulls through. Our guy perks up and asks if the servant is serious. The servant freezes mid-step. Bro asks again about handing over all those assets. The servant goes dead quiet. The servant realizes Dan Woohyun is baiting the man into a real bet. Our hero grins. The servant blurts out that the subordinate will definitely survive then. Dan Woohyun waves the hand and says, just kidding. The servant sighs and calls it a pity. The servant grumbles and asks if the man is really going to survive, says the subordinate looks ready to die any second. Somi sits at the bedside holding the subordinate's bandaged arm. This dude asks the servant about a child born with great luck. The servant asks what our MC means. Dan Woohyun explains that people are born under different fates. And then there are those born with the blessings of a star. These children face misfortune after misfortune until the luck finally kicks in. Somi sits surrounded by golden light. The moment Somi met Dan Woohyun, the fate of that star started to show, and everything the girl touches gets blessed by luck. A few days pass. The night moon, koi fish drift in the pond. The subordinate's eyes crack open. The man stares at an unfamiliar ceiling. The subordinate asks where this is, then can't believe the man actually survived. Somi pops in and yells that the man is alive. The subordinate jolts. The dark-haired man asks if Somi saved the man. The girl beams and says finding the subordinate, but Somi's dad is the one who did the saving. Somi says being glad the man survived, then bolts to tell Dad and Mr. Slave the good news. The subordinate lies there stunned. Dad and Slave ask what the girl is talking about. The Murim Alliance headquarters at night. Namgung Chun, Murim Alliance leader and Sword Emperor, asks if the person who took down the Black faction has been found. Namgung Seol remembers Dan Woohyun's warning about knowing when to ignore what's seen or heard. The woman hesitates. Namgung Seol answers yes and says finding the man. Namgung Chun sits on the throne while Namgung Seol stands before the alliance leader. The old man asks why the woman came back alone. Namgung Seol bows the head. Namgung Chun presses, asks if the man refused to come to the Murim Alliance. Namgung Seol stays quiet. The woman stands before the throne in silence. Namgung Chun's eyes narrow. Namgung Seol says the Tyrant Sword Ma Dokjin was treated like a child by that man. Namgung Chun wonders if the man has ties to the demonic faction or just wants a secluded life. The old man perks up and says one more thing. Namgung Seol adds that the man called Namgung Chun's swordsmanship full of conceit. The alliance leader's composure cracks. Namgung Chun's fist clenches, says that memories of baby Seol flood in, the granddaughter climbing all over the man, eating sweets, screaming about becoming a strong martial artist, while the old man laughed. The Sword Emperor's face turns red, calls the man a bastard for insulting the precious granddaughter. Namgung Chun calms down and admits being curious if everything Seol said is true. Tells the woman to go rest. Namgung Seol bows and leaves. A hand reaches toward the light. The subordinate says being alive. The dark-haired man lets out a weak laugh. The subordinate clenches a bandaged fist. Says still being able to do it. The man pushes up and swears to become stronger through martial arts. Dan Woohyun walks in asking if the man is awake. The subordinate jolts. Our guy says the man should be all right since the body is moving normally. The subordinate recognizes Dan Woohyun from before. Bro gives the name, Dan Woohyun. This dude says being Somi's father and the one who saved the man. Outside, Somi digs herbs, screaming about giving them to the patient. The subordinate asks if Dan Woohyun saved the man. Our MC says to thank Somi and that the man would be dead without the girl. Somi runs in holding herbs and flowers, says owing our hero the man's life and that applying these will help. Bro notes the wounds came from the man's own comrades. The subordinate flinches. Dan Woohyun tells the man not to think too badly of the crew, says the man might have done the same in the crew's position. The subordinate says, knowing that. This dude stays quiet. The subordinate looks up and says forgetting everything. The man sits on the edge of the bed wrapped in bandages. The subordinate says, keeping that in mind. Our MC tells the subordinate to stay and recuperate, adds that going outside means death. Dan Woohyun turns and walks out. The door shuts. Our guy glances back through the gap. The subordinate bows from the bed, says, thank you. The man sits alone in the room. The subordinate lies back and wonders if anyone has ever shown this kind of kindness before. The next day, the compound in the morning. Sounds of impact from inside. The subordinate stands in black clothes, ready to fight. Kwon Mujin screams to wait, crashes into the subordinate. Kwon Mujin and the subordinate tumble across the courtyard. Bro and Kwon Mujin stand face to face. The servant stares the dark-haired man down. The subordinate fires back that the man is a person. Kwon Mujin grins and says being happy a new slave finally showed up. The subordinate slams Kwon Mujin into the washing station, says not being a servant. The dark-haired man wipes the face. Dan Woohyun steps in and tells both of them the subordinate won't be lazing around, has to work for the stay. Kwon Mujin says, to make sure, the subordinate clicks the tongue. Kwon Mujin glares. The two square up. Kwon Mujin bolts to Dan Woohyun, screaming that the guy our hero brought back is super rude and trying to kill the servant. The subordinate chases behind, cursing. Kwon Mujin grins and brags about the Qinggong being faster, taunts that the famous little twin dagger Kwon Mujin beat the subordinate. The subordinate grips the broom and says the servant is dead meat once caught. Kwon Mujin stops mid-step, spots a group at the gate. Officials in uniform march into the compound. Kwon Mujin freezes and says, Magistrate, Hong. The servant skids to a halt. Jang Samtab walks in with the magistrate's men. Kwon Mujin asks why the man is here. Jang Samtab screams for the criminal to get ready and answer for the crimes.